Let's have a look at one of the more interesting stocks I've seen in a long while. So, first off, read this disclaimer carefully. So, there's quite a few stocks out there that have like some bullish things, but not others. But this stock has a lot going for it. It's Sientra. They are in the breast augmentation business. Here you can see their website. So let's jump into it. So I do have a theme that I call body modification breast implants. 12% here from the 52-week low, but 91% away from the highs. Here is the long-term chart for a Sientra. It's been a lot higher in the past, for sure, so it's low. Interesting to observe, the stock itself has a tendency to form these shapes, which fits very much with the business they are in. That could also mean that maybe if this is a buying opportunity, you could be part of the process where one of those shapes is formed, and that could be rather profitable. And the last time Sientra had a bit of a move, forming that kind of shape to the peak, 726%. That's a lot. That's a big one here as well. Yeah, we are talking 180-ish%, but that is, from a higher price level, which is one of the reasons why buying low and selling high can be rather fun. So being very low now could be more bullish than buying low back here. Looking at the dailies, this looks like support. No guarantee, but there's something supportish happening at the moment. What are these news? It's yeah, they report a quarterly loss per share of $2.35. That was on the 30th of March. Let's go here to the dailies. But there wasn't like a big reaction here from the market in like a bearish way, so it was like priced in. RSI, PPO, relatively low. On the weeklies, on the dailies, I wish we were lower on the RSI. That would be more of a screaming buy, but then again, it's not bad, for a stock to show some fight in it. So yeah, we've recently seen a bit of a spike here in RSI. And looking at accumulation distribution, there is something potentially bullish afoot. Not roaringly bullish, but there's something here. So what I write here is horizontal support. That's where we are at. I give the bulls a 5. It's not a super solid horizontal support, but it is pretty good. Now let's look at the seasonality. That is very promising to the left over the last 7 years in blue, 5 years in green. The seasonality leading up until, well, the seasonality ahead of us is pretty good. April is usually a bad month. Well, not good at least. There wasn't a big loss though this April, 2.2% loss. May, at least last year, was not good. So May is a bit binary. Either it is really green or it is really, really red. However, June and July and also August are really green. So the seasonality ahead of us is very promising for Sientra. So in this case, I do think I will give the Bulls. I will give them a decent score here, but I will give them a 5 simply because I don't like that. Well, it is of course good that seasonality really improves on the horizon, but the coming month was not necessarily bullish. It could be bearish, but all in all, it's more bullish than bearish, but could be messy. Next, we look at the fundamentals. Okay. So, looking at price book, we are actually a bit elevated. Looking at price to sales, we are rather low. Price earnings is higher. When we go here to the forecasts, we do see that there's 4 analysts with a 1-year price target. They are all very bullish. based on 4 analysts giving stock ratings to Sientra in the past 3 months, they are all strong buys. So at these levels, there's simply a lot of value in the stock. Of course, we have to be aware of value traps. I will give the bulls a 7 here on the fundamentals. The issue with the stock market is that there are far more stocks looking for investors than there are investors with money to invest. As such, you can have undervalued stocks that simply are not able to attract money. So there is a real discrepancy between the share price and the actual fair value of the stock. But as an investor, again, you are completely dependent on other investors agreeing with you. So if you have like an amazing stock in your portfolio that is very undervalued, it will go even lower if you don't get other investors on board. It's just the way it works. But yeah, fundamentals are good. And the context is interesting with these technicals and the seasonality. Let's look at relative performance. So looking at the weeklies, we do not get any data. Let's go to the dailies. In that case, then we do have, 69% negative correlation with S&P 500, 12% with XLI, which is the consumer discretionary ETF. And, breast augmentation is definitively a discretionary spending. BFIT, Health and Wellness ETF, minus 67%. So the strongest correlation we got was actually with the S&P 500, and it was negative. So they have a tendency to move opposite each other. I don't think we should exaggerate that, though. I don't think that this is a tradable correlation as such. So yeah, there's that. Let's actually explore a bit more, because the correlations, we need to have some sort of good correlations here to actually work on. Also negative though. Let's look at IWM, which is the small cap ETF. Yeah, we do get minus 42%. Just out of curiosity, let's compare SIEN against S&P 500, but in this case, I don't think I actually will give a score, because this doesn't necessarily make sense. It doesn't make sense that, because, there's negative correlation. What usually happens then is that what follows is that what is good for one is bad for the other. But I don't think this is a negative correlation that means that the S&P going down is like bullish for Sientra. And the correlation, it was like of mediocre strength as well. Which also suggests that it is a correlation that one should be a bit cautious about trading. But anyway, here is the relationship here between the two. Very low level for Sientra, substantially underperforming S&P 500. Here again, you could argue this is a bit of a rounding bottom. So in this case, on relative performance, I think I will have to be a bit careful. Okay, maybe I'll give a very weak bullish score to Sientra, because it's so undervalued. So I give the bulls a 1. We end up with 4.5 here in favor of the bulls. We are at horizontal support. I do think that especially the fundamentals were promising. The context provided by the technicals and the seasonality are also something to take note of. Okay, so here is a SWOT analysis of Sientra. So this is made by GPT-4. Of course, it is limited to the data leading up to September 2021. But yeah, so here are some strengths: unique product offerings. So they offer silicone gel breast implants, various shapes and sizes. The variety allows Sientra to differentiate itself from competitors in the market, focus on innovation. They're committed to innovation in the aesthetics business, high quality products, relationships with plastic surgeons. So they do have a strong relationships with them. Weaknesses: Yeah, they do have a limited product portfolio. Yeah, they are very focused on the breast implants, smaller market share compared to other competitors. Yeah, they have a smaller market share, yeah, which could limit ability to control pricing and other factors. Regulatory challenges, yes, there's that. Opportunities, yeah, expansion of product offerings. Um, Growth in the medical aesthetics market, yes. International expansion, threats, intense competition, regulatory risks, and economic factors. So one of the interesting things you can do with GPT is to give it a role, yeah. So if you say like your new role is that you are an expert business growth consultant, give Sientra 4 actionable and concrete advice. So yeah, diversify a product portfolio. That's something that follows right from the SWOT analysis. But this is a bit interesting. Invest in digital marketing and online presence. So they go into like search engine optimization, influencer partnerships, strengthen the plastic surgeon relationship, expand geographically. So here you can actually see the ads that Sientra currently runs on Meta. So they have this one started in 10th of February, but they actually only have 2 ads. So this is rather interesting, right? So GPT was like, okay, Sientra should really consider they're going more into digital marketing, and it's a fact actually that Sientra their presence here on Meta is limited. So they only have these ads. So this is the advertisement. So make an informed decision. When it comes to patient safety, not all breast implants are created equal. Sientra implants are clinically shown to have low complication rates. And that is also something that is in the video. Not all implants are created equal. So that is like the sentiment they are targeting, that concern, right? That, okay, what if things go wrong? Because that is one of the objections people do have to going for these kinds of products. Let's look at this ad as well. You deserve the best, which is precisely why Sientra breast implants offer you and your silhouette an unrivaled safety profile and industry's most comprehensive 20-year warranty. Yeah, interesting. And they have like a lot of like sort of like social proof. Well, it's sort of like strong references, I guess, lower here. So one of my longer term plans is to really get good at investing, but also to really get good at digital marketing. Because my plan is to become like an activist investor where I can find companies that do something wrong when it comes to marketing, which basically mean that I know that if I buy the shares, I buy a lot of shares, and I then provide them free advice and consultants that work on their advertising accounts, then that will be very good for the share price. So yeah, and it is very interesting that GPT was able to sort of predict based on all the data it has, and it probably did have data on their social media presence, that there were limits there, some underinvestment. So yeah, I do use GPT a lot these days. The key thing though about GPT is that you must give it a role. And if you ask it about financial stuff, which it isn't a huge fan of answering those kinds of questions, you give yourself a role as well that puts GPT in a mode where it can offer you more advice without that being a risk. So if you say that you are working on a dissertation or uh, or a master thesis about let's say Sientra, and then it assumes that you're not going to invest. As such, it's not going to spend a bunch of time giving all kinds of disclaimers that blah blah blah. I can't give financial advice. No, it's going to just speak more openly to you about the types of patterns it sees and opportunities in the financial data. It's a bit early, but I do have these ratings: technical, seasonality, fundamentals, relative performance. I have considered though maybe adding AI but it's not there yet. I do think that with some of the coming updates to GPT, it will be more usable when it comes to actually predicting future developments in a stock. Whatever you do, of course, you do want to always have an entry signal and a stop loss.